Hello YouTube, how are y'all doing today? Sorry I hadn't posted my second video yet. We had a family crisis that we've been dealing with for the last week and a half or so. My goal is to post one of these a week, but obviously that didn't happen last week. So it's happening now. And when I was thinking about what to put this one out as, I was reminded of a story that one of my friends and I ran across. His name was Jim Holcomb, a great guy. He was in the Air Force for a long time. He was one of the maintenance guys on the Minuteman missile. I think is the one he said. It was one of those missiles, but very meticulous, very funny guy. I mean, he had a bunch of funny stories, so I thought I'd tell you a couple of the ones that kind of hit me. The first one, whenever we would go riding somewhere, he would always start out by saying, we're going to take Highway 28 over to 421 to somewhere. And I would always say, okay, Jim, I'm following you. I don't need to know the road numbers. So that stuck with me. And then another one, we were sitting in a rally somewhere, and he was sitting beside my wife, and then I was sitting on the other side of her. Well, he passed her some almonds, and when she was getting ready to pop those almonds in her mouth, she heard Jim laughing, and he leaned over at her and said, I've already sucked the chocolate off of them for you. So that's kind of a funny story from Jim. Like I said, he's a great guy. But he and I were, with our wives, were camping up at Roan Mountain. And we were taking a walk around the campground. We ran across a tree. And I'm going to try to post a couple of pictures of the tree in this video, but I'm not really great at editing, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it works, but in case it doesn't, I'll describe it to you. It was just a root ball laying on the ground, a big old root ball where the tree had been uprooted. If you look along that for a couple of feet, the tree was laying on the ground, and then all of a sudden it took a turn up toward the sky, and it was there. It was growing just like the other trees. It was as tall as the other trees, but the beginning of it was that uprooted ball of roots. So that kind of got the wheels to turning in my head, and I was thinking, that tree is pretty persistent. It has persevered, and throughout this little talk, I'll probably be using those terms interchangeably. But let's talk for a few minutes about persistence. James 1:12 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." So we've got to persevere. We've got to be persistent. If you look at the definitions of persistent, let me read them for you. It's firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. We all have difficulty or opposition in our lives. It's also the quality that allows someone to continue doing something or trying to do something even though it is difficult or opposed by other people. I want to talk a couple of minutes about a couple of people from more modern times. Let's talk first about Michael Jordan. Looking back on his story, he didn't make his high school team. He was cut. So rather than give up at being cut, Michael Jordan practiced. He persisted. And we all know what happened after that. He later became one of the arguably either one of the best or the best NBA player in history. And I'm sure that there are people that are going to say others are better, but even if there are others that are better, Michael Jordan is up there. He's in the top five. The other person is Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Thomas Edison said, "I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." So he stuck with it. He kept going until he invented the perfect light bulb. So what is persistence? First one I've got here is don't let your circumstances control when you quit. Don't let your conditions control your attitude. I wrote down here, some of you are very close to success, but if you quit now, you might as well be a million miles from success. Wow, think about that. You're so close, but if you quit now, it's like you've never done anything. When you quit, quitting is no respecter of the time you put in, the money you put in, or the energy you put in. Here's a redneck version. When you quit, and you ain't getting what you want. Galatians 6:9 says, "And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart." Colossians 1:9-12 says, "For this reason, since the day we've heard about you, we have not stopped praying for you. We continually ask God to fill you with the knowledge of His will through all the wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives, so that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and please Him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power according to His glorious might, so that you might have great endurance and patience, and giving joyful thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of His holy people in the kingdom of light." We can't quit. Going back to that tree, I probably what happened is a big storm came through and was beating the trees, and it just ripped that one right up by the roots. It should have been dead. At that point, an uprooted tree usually lays there and dies. But that one, and I know trees don't have spirits or souls, but at that point, it's almost like that tree made a decision. It made a decision that I'm not going to let my circumstances control what happens to me. I'm going to rise up. And that's exactly what the tree did. It rose up. When we found that root ball in that tree, I was amazed because, after a few feet it turned up. The trunk was about that big around, probably 8-10 inches around. And it went straight up in the air. It was a good 30 to 40 feet tall, maybe even taller than that. And it stood as tall as its neighbors who didn't get uprooted. That fact just amazed me. And it reminded me that's the way we need to be. We need to be persistent. And if we're persistent, in the end, we will stand tall. Even if we never stand tall on earth, which I believe if we do what God has willed us to do, if we're persistent enough to stick to that, He's going to reward us on earth as He does in heaven. That reward may look different for other people, but uh, I think in some way we're going to get rewarded here on earth. So let me read you one more verse. It's 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure is at hand. I've fought the good fight, I've finished the race, I've kept the faith. Finally, there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day, and not to me only, but to also all who have loved his appearing. So, be persistent, persevere. You'll get your rewards in heaven. And I want to leave this by a closing quote with one of my favorite books. The author is Andy Andrews. The name of the book is The Traveler's Gift: 7 Decisions That Determine Personal Success. And in this book, the way it's fictional, the way it's written is there are travelers, and the gentleman that his name was David, that gentleman was a traveler. So he traveled back in time to see different historical people like Christopher Columbus, Abraham Lincoln, several others. But one of them was a visit with Gabriel in heaven. And the book says they went into this room that had all of this stuff that was just about to be delivered when the person gave up. So I'm going to read this to you. It says, turning to face Gabriel, David said, "What is this place?" Flexing the wings on his back, Gabriel took a step closer to David and swept his arms out from his sides as if to welcome an honored guest. This, my friend, is the place that never was. This is the place where we keep all the things that were about to be delivered just as a person stopped working and praying for them. The contents of this warehouse are filled with the dreams and goals of the less courageous. Gabriel smiled and sat down beside David on the floor. You must know that in the game of life, nothing is less important than the score at halftime. The tragedy of life is not that a man loses, but that he almost wins. That quote has stuck with me, especially the part about it doesn't matter what the score is at halftime. It doesn't matter. Everything in sports, everything in life is determined by the score at the end. So I want to encourage you today to stick with it. Be persistent. Persevere. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.